17 pairs of eyes burned into him as he stepped onto the bootcamp grounds, boots crunching the gravel beneath his feet. The single dad veteran, Daniel Carter, didn't look like the others. While the young recruit stood tall with eager smiles and fresh energy, he carried himself with the weight of years, broad shoulders bowed slightly, scars barely hidden under his sleeves, and eyes that had seen both life and loss. His worn duffel bag was slung over his back, and every step he took seemed to spark another chuckle among the soldiers who couldn't imagine why a man his age had walked into their world. "What's the old man doing here?" "Thought this was boot camp, not a retirement home," one whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Laughter erupted, and Daniel felt it stab deeper than any bullet wound he'd ever taken. Daniel ignored it. He had long ago learned that silence was stronger than shouting. He was here for a reason bigger than himself. His daughter, Emily, was waiting back home, counting on him to push through. The bills stacked on the kitchen counter didn't care about pride. The empty seat at the dinner table, once filled by his late wife, reminded him every day why he had to keep moving forward. Life had tested him again and again, and this boot camp wasn't the biggest fight he had faced. Still, the sneers from the 17 soldiers cut into him. They didn't know who he was, what he had survived, or the battles he carried inside. The first few days were brutal. Daniel's knees ached during runs, his breathing burned in his chest, and his back screamed with every push-up. Meanwhile, the younger soldiers mocked him relentlessly. They whispered nicknames, Grandpa, Old Bones, the Fossil, and laughed when he trailed behind. Some even questioned out loud why the camp had accepted him. Every insult reminded Daniel of high school bullies, only this time the stakes were higher. He clenched his jaw and pushed harder, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. At night, while the others joked and bonded in the barracks, Daniel sat quietly, flipping through a small photo of Emily. She was only 12, with big brown eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest of nights. That picture gave him strength. He whispered to it, promising her he wouldn't quit. He had faced war zones, hunger, and loss. He wouldn't lose this battle. One morning during drills, the mocking reached its peak. Daniel stumbled on the obstacle course, his body slower to react than the others. The 17 soldiers laughed in unison, clapping their hands and shouting insults. It was then that the voice that commanded respect over the entire camp rang out. "Quiet." The female commander, Captain Morgan Reyes, strode forward. She was known for her iron will and sharp eye, a leader feared and respected by every recruit. The laughter died instantly, replaced by silence heavy enough to choke the air. Her gaze locked on Daniel, and for a moment, he thought she would dismiss him too. Instead, her eyes narrowed at something beneath his rolled-up sleeve. "Carter," she said firmly, "show me your arm." Confused, Daniel pushed up his sleeve, revealing the ink that had been part of his skin for years, a tattoo of the Marine Corps emblem, etched with the names of fallen brothers who never made it home. Gasps rippled through the recruits. The commander stepped closer, her voice quieter but carrying power. "You served." Daniel nodded, the weight of his memories pressing heavy on his chest. "2 tours. Lost half my unit." His voice cracked slightly, but he stood tall. Captain Reyes's expression softened in a way no one had ever seen before. "And you're back here, training again. That's not weakness, Carter, that's strength. Real strength." She turned to the 17 soldiers, her tone sharp as a blade. "You laugh at a man who has carried more than you can imagine. While you slept safely in your beds, men like him stood watch so you could dream. You will respect him, or you will answer to me." The recruits lowered their heads, shame washing over their faces. The laughter was gone, replaced by silence and, eventually, admiration. From that day forward, the tone changed. The 17 soldiers no longer mocked Daniel, instead, they followed his lead. They noticed how he never quit, even when his body screamed in pain. They saw him help the weaker recruits over walls, carry extra weight when someone else faltered, and push through every challenge without complaint. Slowly, respect grew. The man they once called Grandpa became the one they turned to for advice, for strength, for courage. Daniel still wrote to Emily every night, telling her about his days, but now his words carried pride instead of weariness. He told her about how people were beginning to see him for who he truly was, not just his age or his past. He wrote about the commander who had reminded him that scars, tattoos, and stories were not signs of weakness but badges of honor. The final test of boot camp came weeks later, a grueling endurance run through mud, water, and obstacles. Many recruits stumbled, some nearly gave up, but Daniel pushed forward. When one of the 17 fell behind, gasping for breath, it was Daniel who went back, pulling him up and pushing him until they both crossed the line together. That moment sealed it. The laughter that once targeted him turned into cheers, and for the first time, Daniel felt like he belonged again. When graduation day arrived, Captain Reyes stood before the group, her eyes sweeping over her soldiers. She paused on Daniel and said with quiet pride, "Some of you came here to prove yourselves. Some came here to find yourselves. But one man reminded us all what true service and sacrifice looks like. Carter, you didn't just pass boot camp, you taught us what strength really means." Daniel stood tall, tears stinging his eyes, thinking of Emily waiting for him at home. The same men who once laughed at him now saluted him with genuine respect. And in that moment, Daniel knew his journey was never about proving himself to them. It was about showing his daughter, and himself, that no matter how broken life tries to make you, you can rise again. And to you watching this right now, remember Daniel's story. Don't let the world's laughter stop you from chasing your purpose. Stand tall, fight through the pain, and never let your scars make you feel weak. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Because sometimes, the quietest fighters carry the loudest victories.